So, good morning. Nice to have you all here, and welcome to the spotlight session on Find Your Niche, Build Your Community. My name is Julia. I think I know all of you, but I'm the program manager at Next Media Accelerator, and I'll be moderating the session today. Just a quick, housekeeping notes before we go to the session. The format today is that we're going to have the presentation from the speakers and discussion in the panel, and you are welcome and invited to share questions, thoughts, feelings through the chat. You can write on the chat anytime, and I'll make sure that we read it in the discussion. Or you can use the Zoom function to raise your hand, and I'll give you the time to speak. Or you can literally raise your hand, and I'll give you the time to speak as well. Yes, the session is being recorded, and yeah, I think it's nice if you can leave your camera on and the mic off, everybody. And when the speakers are talking, that makes it easier. So yeah, I think the topic of today, it's super interesting because it's something that big legacy media as well as small first-time creators try to tap in, which is building a community. When we talk about niche, we're talking about identifying an area and a topic and developing, like positioning yourself as experts on the topic and gathering an audience around one specific interest. At the same time, we see companies such as the New York Times, or as well as YouTubers, trying to engage more with the audience that they have, either by doing personalized content, sharing exclusive products, and especially creating a community, a connection feeling between this audience. And that's why we're going to see this is relevant for very well-known publications such as Medieninsider, as well as new platforms on the rise like Medieninsider, The District, and The Lunicorn. So I'm going to get it started. I'm going to invite Lena Schneider, the master of everything and project manager at Medieninsider, to share a few points on their strategy to engage the community.
So thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to share some insights that we've made over the last years at Medieninsider. So first to introduce myself so you know who's speaking here. I'm Leonard and I'm responsible for two clubs or two communities that we have at Medieninsider that we have just launched over the past 4 years. One is Friends of Medieninsider, Freunde der Zeit, which is our membership program for our subscribers. And also there's a second community, which we have just recently launched 6 months ago, which is about books, and it is called Was wir lesen, so what we are reading. And today I'm going to share some insights from both of these. So my presentation is mainly about where do you communicate with your community? Because when we started Freunde der Zeit 4 years ago, we had to figure out what is the main way of communication, the main channel that we want to interact with our audience. And in our case, that's a small spoiler, we have decided to use a very old school media, which is email. So when you're thinking about communities, the intuitive first thought is to go to some social media platform, to go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I forgot, LinkedIn, Xing, whatever. Which might be a good choice for your case, depending on who your audience is. But all of those platforms do have several disadvantages. So one is that you don't really own the data or the contact to your audience. You're always dependent on the platform. So if there is a change to the algorithm, it might have a big impact on your business model, and you can't do anything about that. And also, there's no platform where you reach every user that you might want to. So those are some reasons for which we decided to use this old school medium email for our newsletters and our communities. And today, I'm going to share some ideas, some experiences that we've made on how to engage your community via email, via newsletters, and why newsletters can be more than spam. Also, you might have seen over the last years that there's kind of a renaissance of newsletters when you see Substack and other platforms. Publishers are are really going into this market and try to enter into your inbox. So you get an impression of what I'm talking about. Those are our two newsletters, our most recent editions. On the left-hand side, you can see our newsletter for Friends of die Zeit. So this is just the intro. The newsletter itself is much, much longer. It's long form. We at die Zeit have difficulties putting things short. And in this case, our target group is Zeit subscribers. So we have a potential target group of 430,000 subscribers at the moment, and 240 of those get our newsletter each Saturday morning. And on the right-hand side, you can see our new book newsletter, which has reached 85,000 recipients over the last 6 months only. So we've had quite a big growth rate over this period. And in this case, the target group is book lovers. And one big differentiation is that the right one is for new customers of die Zeit. So it's kind of a mechanism for lead generation for us. And the left one is for existing ones. It's a retention tool and engagement tool for existing subscribers. So one big advantage of email, and this is why we have chosen it, is that you can reach much more people via email. In our case, we are a legacy newspaper. We have a very big demographic that we have to reach, from very young readers to very, very old readers. So if we went to Instagram, we would lose many of our audience. And if we would go to TikTok, we wouldn't reach a big part of those. So that is why we had to pick a channel where most of our users are, and quite obviously, almost every internet user has an email address, reads this email. So this is really the biggest social network you can use, if you put it that way. Here are some tips on design and on different mechanisms that you could use in a newsletter, in a mailing. And in our cases, it is very essential for us to have a very personal tone. So that's why each newsletter is written by one person from our team, from a member of our team. And it's always with a picture, it's written in a personal style. So you get an editorial, which is written by someone and not just by an anonymous company. So that's one way to build the community and to have a conversation between people and not a company and an anonymous mass. Also, this is the main content of our literature newsletter, and there you can see as well that we are working with faces, with people, and those are recommendations by famous people. Like on the left side, you can see the singer-songwriter Clouseau, who has recommended Panikherz by his friend Benjamin von Stuckrad-Ball. And on the right-hand side, you can see one of our editors, Christian Fuchs, who is recommending a tour guide, a travel guide. So also, this is a newsletter from people to people.
There, Leonard, just, it's 6 minutes, so if you have 1 minute roughly.
Okay, I'll hurry up. Another tool of engagement is that we are usually asking one question per newsletter to do a very, very small poll. And that's also a very simple way to engage readers. And usually we get 1,000 to 2,000 responses each week. And as you can see on the right side, we mirror those responses in the next newsletter so that people know what the others are thinking and that they feel part of this community and see that they are not alone, not the only person reading that. Also, you get a lot of exclusive content. So that's one other reason to subscribe to our newsletter. You can win books in almost at each edition, or you can get a free ebook or an audiobook. And also a big advantage, if you have a relevant size and an attractive target audience, you can also monetize your reach. So in our case, we've got different advertising formats like those banner ads, and also those book competitions in the middle are paid advertising. So we earn several thousand euros per newsletter edition just by putting ads into it. And that's also very big advantage. And last but not least, we have regular community meetings via Zoom, just like we do here. And just yesterday evening, we had an event with 3 young authors who were talking about their new books. And we had 1,500 registrations and 800 participants who took part live in this event. So those are really meetings where people get to know each other. They participate via chat, and that's our kind of town halls. So that's all I have in my quick intro. If you want to learn more about it, just go to either freunde.zeit.de or zeit.de/was wir lesen. There you can subscribe to both newsletters and see what we're doing there. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you, Leonard. Thank you so much. This was great, and I would just want to remind everybody, if you have questions about the Zeit strategy, you can already share on the chat, even if we address this in a second moment. Actually, it's quite interesting that you mentioned also, for example, that you host the newsletter is a way to have engagement, but of course there are other channels that are complementary to this. We see that the conversation takes part elsewhere, of course, right? And I think another point that you said that was quite interesting is to use this personality, the different authors, to attract their own community. I guess this is something, the creators community, that we see a lot in the US. Journalists from big newspapers like BuzzFeed, New York Times, moving to Substack to build their own brand in newsletters and creating channels to talk like on Discord and so on. I think we see this trend. We're gonna tap more into that, but then I'm gonna invite Matthias, I'm assuming, or Marvin, one of you, the founders of Medieninsider. And it's gonna be quite interesting because we're talking about a news publication about the news in the media industry, and quite recent. So I think it's going to be interesting to see these contracts from Zeit and this huge business diversification and the big team behind it, and now a platform that is on the rise on the start. So guys, the floor is yours.
Yeah, it's me. Thank you very much. So
hi, Marvin.
Hi everyone. So I hope you can see my presentation.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, yeah, so also a very nice welcome from my side. I'm Marvin, and one of 2 co-founders of Medieninsider.com, which is a digital subscription-based magazine covering the media industry nationally and internationally. We started a few months ago in August. And covering the media industry means we definitely found our niche. So we have a website where you can find all our content, which is fully paid content. We also have a weekly free newsletter, so feel free to subscribe our newsletter. And we also deliver our content via deep dive PDFs to very special topics. Like the first was about how to build paid content and subscription models. And after a few months, we count more than 300 paid subscribers. We have more than 1,000 subscribers in our newsletter. We have a reach around 13,000 unique users a month. And we count more than 3,000 followers on social media. And social media is what I want to talk about a bit more today, because social media was the foundation, or was the beginning of building a community on Medieninsider. And I want to give you a few insights, what we've learned about building a community, because community is the foundation of our membership model. Community is very important for us, first of all, to get conversions into our subscription model, and also to build a strong relationship with our users, so in the sense of retention. So before we started Medieninsider.com, we started to build communities, because when we started in August, we hadn't any reach. We were a completely new brand. So we literally had nothing. So we decided to go on social media to start groups topic-wise, and to invite people from media business into this group, for example, on Facebook or on LinkedIn, and to start conversations, engagement, to share articles, to share information, to get in contact with each other, like a digital meeting point for the industry. And the idea was that after we launched Medieninsider, that we can put our content into these groups, start to engage with our content, and to bring the people from the social media onto our website to start or to become trial subscribers. So social media was a very important point for us in the distribution funnel. And in best case, people came from social media onto our website, subscribed to our newsletter, and in best case, they became full subscribers, where the journey of building a community hasn't ended for us. So the next important point for us was to build a personal relationship with our users. And we decided to try to surprise our users a little bit. So on one hand, we are a completely digital magazine. On the other hand, we thought it would be nice to welcome them in an analog way. So we started to send every trial subscriber a greeting card via postal service, which was handwritten or more hand signed to give them a nice welcome, to surprise them a little bit. And this was quite interesting for us because after that we got surprised by our users, because what we haven't expected was that they will put these analog greeting cards back onto social media, and to share these nice welcome with their users, which meant for us they became from members to ambassadors for us. And in best case, like you can see here in the middle, in best case, new people got curious about Medieninsider, get in contact with Medieninsider, and started a trial membership, which was a big surprise for us, and very happy about this analog way of distribution. And another important point to build sustainable relationships with our users are our community calls. So once in a month, we invite our paid subscribers to get in contact with us via Zoom or Google Hangout to have a meeting all together. On a regular basis, we have 10 to 12 users in our community calls, where we have the chance to give them Medieninsider updates, where we can try to explain what we are developing, what news ideas we have. We have the chance to discuss general topics in the media business, and we learn a lot about our users and their needs, and for what topics they have interests for. So this became a very important point for us to build sustainable relationships, and I think this is a good way in the sense of retention. So our 3 key learnings after around 8 months in sense of community is care about your community. So we think we are not only a publisher, we are also like a meeting point in the media industry, and we try to encourage debates and try to engage our users. This is what we also do in our newsletter, for example. So these creating conversion incentives is also very important for us, also in a way to engage with users. So our newsletter is not only a teaser product for our stories, it's also it also has an engagement aspect for us. So sometimes when I want to know what my readers think about some topics, I call them out to give me a reply via email, to have a chat with me about these topics, because I want to know what they think about and what perspectives they have. And the third thing for us is be personal. A brand shouldn't be only a brand should be personal. So we show our faces on our website, on our newsletter, in our community calls. We try to put or try to create a personal level between our users and us. And this, I think, is a very good way to give them the feeling that people and also a medium cares about what people needs or what people need. So this was a short introduction into how we build communities and how do we think about communities. And if you want to reach us out, please feel free to send us an email. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was really, really nice. That was really clear. You can stop sharing the screen now. We go back to our little gathering mode, cozy mode.
Yeah.
Cool. One question I have as a follow-up to that. By the way, to everybody, we will send a follow-up with mail with the contact information link, so you don't have to worry about, oh, I missed the link. I want to add a question to Marvin and Matthias. Like, you guys are a small team, right? Like at the moment, like working at least full-time in the Medieninsider. In this early stage, how much effort do you put into growing as well as engaging the audience? Is there a priority, or are they equally important? And how do you distribute this task?
Well, engagement with our users is very important for us because, as I said, we try to, and that's the reason why it's so important for us, because we are so small. So we need our users to become ambassadors, or kind of ambassadors for us, to be part of our distribution model. And this is why we do a lot of efforts to get in contact with them, to communicate and engage with them. And because we are very special interest and we are in a niche, we know a lot from our users personally. So it's a very easy way to get in contact with them. So yeah, very important for us, also in the sense of distribution.
Impressive what a piece of printed paper with a signature by hand can do for a digital magazine, like to create digital ambassadors.
Yeah, very surprised. It was a big surprise for us as well. So it was actually kind of a nice way. We didn't only want to give the users our content, which is in a digital way is also very impersonal. So that this happened and people start to become these kind of ambassadors, like that there was a marketing strategy behind it, we didn't know. So
imagine what would happen if you send chocolate. But one question, you both came from the media industry. You have experience working in big media houses in Germany. Why did you decide, okay, now it's time to build my own platform and community and build from scratch?
Maybe I would answer the question from my perspective, and after Matthias can give a word from his perspective. So I've been media journalist for around 8 years now, and so doing media journalism was my passion. So for me, it was very early. It was very clear that I wanted in future I want to start my own business and to feel this experience, because I felt when I wrote about media business and about business models and so on, I never was in the position where I had to execute it. And executing these decisions and to think about these strategies helps to write about it. So for me as a journalist, it's a very good experience to think as an entrepreneur. So it was very important for my work, and this was also one big point I made for me in my decision. So it was, for me it was very, very logical. So Matthias, what was your idea?
As a journalist, I was always interested in the business model behind the publishing houses, and so I decided to do it by myself, because I thought I have some ideas that I might do it maybe better in some cases than my Arbeitgeber before. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean it's a different way to experience journalism, I guess. I was reading, there's a former journalist from the New York Times who was writing why he decided to go to Substack, and he said that was he really wanted to have this closer engagement with the community and experiment new formats and in new strategies. And I think that also is maybe what attracts a lot of content creators, be journalists, being YouTubers, entertainment people, to start on their own and build from scratch. Okay, and that I think is a nice bridge to introduce the alumni startups from the NMA who are here to join and share a bit of their perspective and join the panel, I would say. Charlotte, you have built the district. If I'm not mistaken, it's targeting female millennials and producing entertainment for them.
Yeah, right.
And my question is like, can you tell us briefly what the district is about? And also you as a female millennial, how much of your own experience or your friends' experience influence the format and the content you decide to produce?
Yeah. So introducing the district, I started with introducing the district. So we're a young publishing house here from Hamburg, focusing on the female millennials and also on maybe touching the borders of Generation Z. Can you hear the noises?
There's a bit
me?
of a noise, yeah. Shut up.
Yeah. Boss move Charlotte.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Back again. So, young publishing house focusing on female millennials, and we're sort of touching the borders of Gen Z. Our greater vision is to start a special interest streaming service for this target group. This is what we started with in the NMA. At the moment, we are delivering content to our target group via social media, mostly focusing here on Instagram with the different formats like stories, story Q&A, story surveys, posts, video content, long form, short form, long form on IGTV. And by today, we have built a small but very loyal and engaged community on Instagram and beyond. And we put a lot of effort in that and a lot of passion. And truly, there's some within the core, the DNA of our community building is a lot of the network, friends and family, probably my own intrinsic perspective of being a woman in during this time and these times in this society. And this is probably like the main reason why other females from our target group can connect to the brand, the district, because they believe it's authentic. The sender, like we are you, is one of our brand ideals, and this is what we are communicating to our target group, that we are all in this together, and we know what we are talking about. Yeah.
Cool. And I mean, you said that like a loyal community, meaning you see basically the same faces or same comments. Is loyalty, retaining this loyalty or growing? Yeah. What is it for you at this moment? A higher priority than going bigger or expanding?
Sorry, I think I didn't get the question.
Is it for you at this time in this platform experimenting with the social media and the stories to retain a loyalty and maintain the engagement level high?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we see like when we compare the situation now from where we started, we see that our followers, they are sharing our content, they are resharing it with their communities, small communities, also followers with bigger communities share our content. So this is important. And then we, like during the last month, we recognized that more and more followers are coming up and asking us if we have products in our portfolio, if we can, if there's something they can buy from us. And so we decided to launch in summer some of the district special products, and let's see how engaged the community is when it comes to pay money for something that is produced by the district.
Yeah, that is a topic that we can talk about discussion, monetize this.
Yes.
But thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And last but not least in the panel, I would like to ask Matt to share a few words about the Lunicorn. So you guys have been building this platform talking about all topics related to tech world and VC perspective. And you have been using YouTube, but also social media. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, YouTube and podcasts are your main channels, right? Can you tell us a bit why was this decision to focus on these two?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. Hey, lovely to reconnect with everyone as well. So yeah, my name is Matthew Smith, founder of The Lunicorn, which has now been rebranded as Lunicorn since we were acquired last year in November 2020. I was part of NMA's batch 8, I think it was, in 2019. So nice journey since then. But our journey, I mean, it's changed so much because we started out as being a Facebook-only video creator because that's in the early days of NAS Daily. Because you have this issue with a lot of platforms to this day where you have an equilibrium of viewers versus creators. So YouTube is an equilibrium platform right now where it's very hard to stand out. You almost have somewhat of a market saturation, you know, of kinds. So to stand out, you really have to do something exceptional, play the game. And as you know, as Bob said earlier, how that changes, right? You're so reliant on the algorithms changing and things like that. So to be honest, having a title channel that you focus on, we've now focused on YouTube as our title channel, which we hadn't done for the last 2 years. And now also having the sub channel. So for example, TikTok, of course, is one of the channels, which isn't an equilibrium channel yet. It's one of the channels you can still stand out on. Many of you might know that Instagram Reels is the only way to build an audience organically on Instagram anymore. But still, Facebook has been the late comer to trying to instigate creators on Facebook. So actually, we're in a discussion at the moment about going back to Facebook and producing long form content as we've done on YouTube to Facebook, because ultimately we all live in a game of retrofitting content, right? Whether it's to email, whether it's to podcasts, but we've sort of developed a bit of a formula where you make a title piece, and that can be anything from 10 to 30 minutes of a video. And then that can be retrofitted, chopped up into pieces. You have to film it in multi-formats. So you have to have a bit of a holistic perspective when you're producing that content. But you know, as Gary Vee says, all these guys and girls who have kind of succeeded in media brand building, it's very much around repurposing content in real time and distributing that on as many channels as possible. And I think a lot of us in this game are a bit worried about giving the same audience too much of the same thing because they follow you on multi-channels. So far, that's not proven to be an issue for us, actually. So actually, to be honest with you, Julia, you know, we're on all channels at the moment. The title channel is YouTube at the moment, trying to build an audience there. And just as a fun fact for everyone who wants to try something out in a new channel for a period of time, I wasn't happy with, since the company was acquired last year, and I've joined the new company as basically running their media division, which is Lunicorn, which is my former company. And I wasn't happy with the growth and development going into Christmas and New Year. So I thought, you know what? We're going to do a 100-day video challenge. For the next 100 days, I'm going to release a video every single day on YouTube. It's not for the faint-hearted, so I wouldn't recommend it to everyone, but I'm sure all of you are more than capable. And that's proved as the most incredible litmus test to see, try out different shows. We found we're at day 73 today, so almost there. Never missed an upload. But it's allowed us to test and trial so many different things. And now we're finding a formula that works with an audience. Also, as many of you well know, the audience is following you through this journey. They're seeing the mistakes, they're seeing the successes, and that helps to really solidify the initial community that you're building. And then it's a lot easier to build on top of the building blocks of that sort of core community, basically.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's the advantage is that you can experiment and do challenges crazy like this. But on the other hand, is like you experiment. So like you don't know where this is going. But definitely, if you have the luxury, I would say, the opportunity to try new formats and new things, that's a way to go. I would like to say that the panel is open for discussions, meaning I have questions prepared, but I would love that I'm not the only one asking. Meaning, if you have any questions to any of the speakers or to all of them, raise hand, write on the chat, and I'll give you an opportunity. Yes, Matt.
I just have one question for all of you. We're all in the same game here, right? And you know, our game and out of our sort of success in this industry really is there's one way to be successful in this game, which is to be early on a platform, right? You know, Clubhouse, obviously, many of you might have been on Clubhouse. Now I feel like, at least in my community, that's plateaued. You know, what does everyone think will be the next winning platform in the next 5 years? I mean, I definitely think email is coming back in a big way. I've seen friends of mine build startups in completely different industries based on an email list, and because they sent this community-based email address. So I'm just curious, is there anyone, maybe some of the NMA, you know, Nico, or someone has an opinion on this from the media angle about which platform should we all be doubling down on? Is it TikTok? Is it Facebook? Is it YouTube?
Yes, it is.
All of them? It's all of them, like I said already.
You know, it totally depends on your target group. It depends on the flavor of the month. You know, I mean, we all remember, like, I don't know, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when Facebook was really bullish on video and had lots of incentives for media houses to do something with video on Facebook, and then After a while, boom, video didn't work so much anymore, and everyone was on video. So I guess, there will be this constant trial and error of figuring out what's the next wave. I mean, right now, everybody's doing the newsletter thing. I mean, by the way, I started my personal newsletter like 5 years ago, but hey, now everybody's doing it. So welcome to the club. And I think in half a year, the market will be oversaturated, and we all get too many email newsletters in our inbox, and then something else will be interesting. And so we're always hopping from one thing to another. And that's also, part of the fun of being in the media space. There's so much innovation going on, and the users can decide what fits best for them at the current stage of their life. And that doesn't make it easier for us, but that's also the fun part, because if it were easy, everybody would be doing it.
I think, Nico, what you mentioned also is interesting to say. I can subscribe to a newsletter of one platform and a podcast of another. So the media consumption becomes super rich. Leonard.
Yeah, I would agree to Nico that every platform has its relevance, and that you should choose depending on your audience. I think that podcast still has some growth potential, especially in different niches. And I think that podcast is one of the most personal mediums that you can have, and the most reliable relationship between a listener and consumer and the host. So I think that in future we will see much more and much bigger podcasts. And in our case, I see that some years ago, when I said that I work for Die Zeit, people said, "Oh yeah, Giovanni Di Lorenzo, I know you're editor-in-chief." And now, when I say it, people always react like, "Oh yeah, I listen to Zeitverbrechen, and Sabine Rückert is the greatest." So even a huge established media company like ours is in a specific audience most identified by its podcast hosts. So this is, in my opinion, a medium with a huge potential. And we have already tried to experiment with a mixture of podcast and newsletter. So in this case, Zeitverbrechen, we have tried to get the email addresses of the podcast listeners so we can reach out to them on different channels. And target ads in the newsletter as well, and so on. So it's this multi-channel strategy that you, Matt, have been referring to, in my opinion.
Mm. What about you, Matthias Marvin? Is there one channel for you that shows, or one format, as Lena was saying, podcast or newsletter? Can you actually tell us about the Directors Club, which is, I guess, a new format that you're experimenting as well? Like, what has it been for you?
I still hope that Elo is coming back, because I have a really cool username on Elo. Maybe you know that. And I always try to be one of the first users on every new social network, but I never made it to anything.
I'm always first. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, and you mentioned our Directors Club. This is a new format that we try out at the end of May. We want to do live interviews only with paid subscribers, and the paid subscribers also can ask questions to our interview partner, and we try to figure out if this will work. And I can, also I think, in my opinion, the Corona pandemic has made a good environment for those experiments. I think just 1 or 2 years ago, it has never been possible to do digital only events. I think that we are all fine with it now. I don't know if you see it like me.
Yeah, well, from my point of view, I totally agree with Nico and with Leonard, because on one hand, I think you have to find a distribution way for your own product. On the other hand, I think there's a big trend in audio at the moment. So when we launch our Directors Club at the end of May, we try to use all the ways. So we stream these interview via video, but we also want to do to put it into podcasts, and also live streaming it onto Twitter Spaces or something, just to find out what might be the best way for a new format like this. So, and then we're going to figure out which way works and which quote. So.
Yeah, Matt?
I just want to stir the pot a bit too, and thinking in terms of platforms that don't exist yet. They're not necessarily in our periphery. So I was very fortunate to interview this VP of product of Hopin. If you all heard of Hopin, it's a new big streaming company. It's the big bet for the new big platform, right? $5.3 billion business, fastest growing startup in Europe, blah, 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 blah. And so live is what I want to talk about, live streaming, right? I know one of you mentioned you've done some live streaming, Charlotte, as well. Something that I've been testing out recently, because let's be honest, right? All of us in this game of content for content's sake, we don't want to do that. We want to do content for value's sake, right? But when we're retrofitting all these pieces and we have to do all this content, all these channels, I mean, we can all only work as much as we can, right? We don't all have enormous teams. So it's sort of unrealistic to be able to achieve all of that. But live's beautiful because there's no editing required. You go in there, you have to have people who are capable. And I think everyone in this room is more than capable to speak competently for however long about a topic that they need. So we've been testing this out with the I do 7 videos a week, 30 a month, 100 every other 100 days. And so for example, today we're doing a live, check it out at Lunicorn on YouTube, by the way, since everyone's building their community anyway, L Unicorn. And it's actually something we've seen a lot of engagement on, actually, interestingly. And I do a live every Thursday as well for a different podcast that I'm a host of about sex tech, actually, on Thursday evenings. And again, consistently outperforming posts versus anything else. Because I think you might all remember there was that big live push about 2 years ago, I think it was, like as Nico said, Facebook was pushing video before that, and then it sort of died off. But I think it's coming back in a big way with platforms like Hopin. So what the VP of product told me from Hopin is that they are looking to sort of be the new creator platform for live shows, B2C and C2C, so a creator to their community. I'm just curious if anyone's got any thoughts on live and have they tested lives out? Leonard, I saw you agreeing with me there.
Yeah, definitely. So as I said before, we are using Zoom webinars at the moment for our weekly Friends of the Zeit and Was wir lesen events. And that works out quite well. So we use the newsletter as an invitation channel. People register, and then at 6 p.m. or so, say they sit in front of their laptops and chat with us. And we usually have between 1,000 and 3,000 registrations per event.
Wow.
And we've tried several different topics. The best ones are actually wine tastings and sparkling wine tastings. And that is an amazing business model because people buy the product up front. So they buy 3 or 4 bottles of wine for 50, 60 euros. And then they sit an evening with us and drink wine together. And that works perfectly. Also, my colleagues from our conference business, they use Hopin a lot. And they use it for big conferences and even conference weeks. So I think that the strength of Hopin is events with different parts that take place over a longer period of time. So if you're only hosting one event, in my opinion, Zoom works perfect. But if you're doing something for days or weeks, then Hopin is really a good choice.
Similar to that, Leonard, I saw also a newsletter writers starting book clubs, for example, not also to create this engagement. You do something in advance and then you use it to discuss live as well. What about you, Charlotte, and the Medieninsider guys? Have you experimented? I mean, the Directors Club will be live, if I understood correctly. I don't know if the district has done any live sessions yet.
We have done some live sessions, especially focusing on topics like mental health. We've been doing some Zoom sessions with psychologists and coaches for our community, as in some service for our community. This is what we offer beyond entertainment. I've done several live formats, not for the district, but more like in the rap industry, and we did content live shows. This is something that is, from my point of view, growing increasingly to work like in this sort of entertainment context with live shows. And yes, we are like, I think the portfolio of options is amazing at the moment, but from like our task would always be to to get all the resources together to play a part on every platform or in every format that is out there. So we are also always struggling to make the decision, what is our focus at the moment? What are we focusing on? Where are we building our community? What are we doing? I was wondering always, like, I thought, okay, email newsletter is not what we could do at the moment, but we would be interested to do something on WhatsApp or on Telegram, maybe not, but more or less WhatsApp. But it's just an idea, and we haven't got the resources at the moment to do that. But if anyone has any experiences in doing this kind of community building, then let me know. I'd be interested.
Well, Medieninsider has Telegram, right? Don't you? And do you guys use it often to communicate with your community?
Yeah, we have Telegram as an experiment, so we have a automatism in it that we push all our articles to Telegram, and sometimes people interact with our group, and we try to figure out what's better for us to set up a group like now, or set up a bot or a page like other media houses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have any anything done with Telegram.
But you're not delivering content via Telegram. It's just a communication tool with your community.
No. We are delivering the RSS feed to our article. So every article that is being published will be on Telegram, and sometimes it's pushed into a group, and sometimes people interact with the articles and say, "Oh, it's an interesting story," or "I can share some information about it," and so. But it's not so an active community. I think we have around 40 people in our Telegram group. It's not that much.
I guess also it has to do a lot with the culture, right? Like in Germany, Telegram, there's a all privacy issue, and whereas in other places, countries is different. I actually have a question to all of you in the panel as well. I would like to start maybe with Medieninsider and Deitside, and then move to Matt and Charlotte, which is, of course, when we talk about niche, means you guys have expertise on a topic. But on the other hand, you're all saying that you have direct contact with your audience. And I want to say, so Leonard, you mentioned you ask surveys in your newsletters to interact with the audience. You guys have Zooms or editorial meetings together. What is the fine line between giving what the audience wants, and how much does the feedback from the audience influence the content that you are producing?
So in my experience in the media business, it's always important to that you have the idea, that you define the product, you put it out there, and then you get feedback, and then you adjust. But it hasn't proven a perfect strategy to ask people for what they want on a blank slate. So people don't really know what they want until they see something, and then you can iterate and make it better over time. So that's the way we work, and that's why we always collect feedback. For example, for our events, we usually get 200 or to 700 feedback forms for one Zoom event, and each week we can iterate and improve on our events. So it's always learning week by week in sprints.
And how do you do this feedback? The form, is it embedded? How do you?
Yeah, we use Typeform for almost
Okay.
everything. I love Typeform. Because
Nico also is a fan. No? Cool. And Medieninsider, guys, how do you?
Well, yeah, we do it in a very individual way, like in our community calls, ask people, well, it's not like that you can order an article. This would be absolutely wrong, because of course we decide what's going to publish on Medieninsider, and it's not like that you can order something. But yeah, we try to get a feeling for. We try to understand what needs do people have in a topic way. So last week we talked a lot about the Cookie-Richtlinie, which is a topic we haven't reported a lot about. But we find out that, yeah, this is very important at the moment for publishers. This is very important for our community. So we try to think about, okay, what can we do for it? What can we deliver for content? What questions to drive people? So this is a way where we try to understand how our community thinks about topics, but it's not like that you can order something or whatever. So we are not an agency.
No, I mean, not ordering, but for example, you publish both reports on, like, let's say, hard news, like some big change that happened in a news organization. And then you also have more analytic pieces or more opinionated. For example, does the audience give you feedback like more of this or more of that?
Well, in this case, I would go with Leonard that the audience sometimes doesn't know what they expect, right? So when you talk to the people individually, they always say, okay, I don't care about what's going on inside the media company, and I don't care about which journalist is going to another publishing house or whatever. But in our analytics KPIs, we see that people do care about who is going from medium X to medium epsilon. So we try to get this feedback, we try to think about, and then we compare it to our KPIs and to our analytics. So this is how we try to figure out what the people really want.
I think analytic tools are the best friends of independent creators and new platforms at the moment. What about Charlotte? How is the interaction with your audience? Is it through, for example, through comments in posts, or how do you get it usually?
Yeah, comments, posts. We have a ritual with our community. from day one on. We started always a Sunday Q&A, and it's like the district tradition to do it. It hasn't been one Sunday where there wasn't a Q&A for our community. Or we started with a second format with our surveys, but they always expect us to do something on Sunday evening. And this is where we interact a lot with them, and also through messages. We are sending messages, voice messages. They tell us they want to see our faces, they want to know who we are. This is when we started the Zoom calls. They were happy to see us and know who's behind the district, and we show the team. So we are really we are really talking just with them a lot. And female followers, I guess, they mostly engage through trust, and we are trustworthy for them. And that's why they stick with us, and that's why they tell their friends that they should come join our little community here, and they should have a look at the district and the great content they are doing. And so this is really, you need to put a lot of effort and passion in that. There is not a KPI behind personal interaction with community, and it takes a lot of time, but it's worth for us at the moment, because we see that there is increasing willingness to also to be more than just a follower on Instagram, to spend in the end money on products that the district bring to the audience.
Friends of the district.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Friends of the district.
Still waiting, Charlotte. Still waiting.
Yeah, as always.
Matt, how is it going, for example, YouTube? Apart from reading comments, which can be tough.
Which can be tough because there's so many trolls out there. I'm sure you've experienced that, right? But no, so YouTube is obviously an immediate response platform. You release a video and you get an immediate response for those who are online, at least within 24 hours. For those who want to comment, right? But also just, so that's the way it is there. And you don't get as many comments as you ever think you will. And then some random video you release you didn't think was any good gets 150 comments, and then there's a whole debate happening, right? So you have to sort of police that as well. But what I've noticed is actually with, talking about getting opinions and trying to engage with the community, it's your job to make them care about a topic. If you're putting something out there, we're adding to the world of content, the white noise that exists, right? It's our job to engage and to sort of, find some red threads that resonate with people. And the one thing I've seen work quite well for us actually was the podcasts again, because in the various podcasts we've done, and some have had 300 listeners, some have had 3,000 listens a week, and in the Nordics specifically, was having very strong consumer habits. So obviously the podcast is always released at a specific day and a specific time. And I mean, one of our podcasts was even called Breakfast with a CEO Breakfast, because it was like to create a consumer habit. When you're having breakfast, oh, I haven't listened to this week's episode, right? But then in every episode, I'm always, because I present a lot, always trying to add this audience engagement, because it's very hard when something's pre-recorded, pre-edited, and then released a month later, right? Or 6 months later, or whenever it is, to really have some kind of like topical, timely, relevant call to action and engagement. So, they're listening to a podcast on Spotify or Google Play or whatever it is, and then you want them to go to Instagram or YouTube or whatever to communicate with you, right? So we've seen that work quite well with podcasts and Instagram. Say, hey, you know what, actually, listeners, what do you think right now? And that was a simple way to engage. And people actually, because they can still listen to the podcast on the bus or the T-Bahn or the train or whatever, go into Instagram and write you a comment while they're listening. And we would see that. And then we would also have an interesting idea of when people were listening to the podcast, as well as the stats that we have, but we have a real-time kind of comment with people when they're listening and things like that. And that would stir conversations and things like that about what people were triggering on. So I think, like anything, you have to have a very clear communicated call to action, engagement, metric, and choose the platform that is where their mind is at that time. Listening to a podcast, you're on public transport or in the car maybe, or something like that. So what is available to you at your fingertips, hopefully if you're not driving, but you know what I mean? You can go into Instagram and write a comment or whatever it is. So to be honest, that's really the only thing I've ever seen work really well. We haven't tried too many other metrics, haven't done any big conversations on Zooms yet, but lives as well. People tend to be a bit shy to ask questions because their name pops up, so it's the classic thing that people want to ask, but don't.
Yeah, I think that's quite, it's a growing audience as well. And I think we're learning as well to be part of this community. I think we all here consume news and content as well. We're getting actually already to the end of the session, and I could stay another hour because I find this topic quite fascinating. But I would like to thank you all, for all the speakers, all the participants, for taking part. Really key lessons. It's fascinating to see if you are a publisher or having a magazine or having a digital news platform, having an Instagram community or YouTube, the synergies and the strategies make it convert a lot. So that's quite fascinating. And I think we're going to see a lot of developments with the new platforms, with the new formats, and also with the amount that is going to grow of podcasts and or newsletters, all this, the possibilities that these will enable in terms of monetization and new ideas and new formats. But I would like to thank you all very much for this. This was a pleasure to have this panel discussion with you. Thank you, Leonard. Thank you, Marvin, Matthias, Charlotte, Matt, and everyone who took part. We will follow up this session with an email with the content and newsletter subscription links. Hopefully, we are all subscribing to each other's platforms today. And yeah, we will have another session of the Spotlight in 2 weeks. But other than that, I thank you all and wish you a nice rest of the day and soon a nice holiday. And see you in the next one.
Thank you, Julia.
Bye.
Thank you for the moderation.
Thanks, everyone. Try out Lives. It'll change your life, I promise.